Hey guys, it's me again. Yeah, I wanted to make another video just basically answering as to whether or not Unsung Hong actually ever claimed to be the Christ, right? Because I've been watching a couple of videos, and from the videos that I've seen, there seem to be there seems to be this misconception rather that Unsung Hong, right, never came out and professed to be the Christ, right? I just want to address that briefly, along with also, so then if Ansang Hong never said he was a Christ, right, then, where, does the WMSCOG get this idea that, that he was the Christ and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, I just want to get right into it. So basically, like I said, this group, right, whenever it does anything, right, it always tries to make it seem or appeal to the Bible, right? As many people have correctly pointed out, they do this, whatchamacall, they do like the cherry pick. They're cherry picking a lot of the verses, right? So they'll pick one verse here, one verse there, and then try to match it up with something else, and then try to create this teaching out of it. Which, when you look at it, you would, when I was there, definitely when I was there, it sounded convincing, but then when you look at it, now that you've left, you just look at it and you're like, oh, but kind of seems like, they're just mixing and matching verses to suit basically their own agenda. So then everything that they do, they will try to make it seem like though it is Bible based, right? When in fact, a lot of the things, especially around the deification, of these people, they'll try to make it seem like it's Bible based when for the most part, if we really, really just take the time to scrutinize it and to think critically about it, it really doesn't add up, right? So I just want to answer that first question, the first point, right? Did Ansang Hong believe? The key thing here is not whether he publicly came out and said it, but did this man actually believe that he was Christ, right? So then, obviously, the first answer, I'm gonna get it from the Bible. Like if you go to, it's Matthew 23, yeah? Matthew 23, verses 8 to 10, right? Yeah. So let me just see here. Matthew 23, verses 8 to 10, it reads, so this is the NIV version that, most church members would be familiar with. So then verse 8, it reads, but you're not to be called rabbi, for you only have one master, and you're all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth father, for you have one Father, and he is in heaven. Verse 10, nor are you to be called teacher, for you have one teacher, the Christ. Right? So it's clear that it says you have one teacher, the Christ. No one is supposed to be given the title of teacher because that person is then the Christ. So now if you look at the NC, the New Covenant Passover Church of God, which is another church that, the previous church that Ansang Hong established, the title that they gave him in that church, right? The title he was given was that of teacher. Right, so then when this is when you really need to dig deep within yourself and understand just how sophisticated and layered, right, this organization is. So when Ansang Hong was on earth, he never publicly came out and claimed to be the Christ, but he was called teacher. Now that within itself is very telling because now I'm going to say, no, wait a minute. This person actually believed that he was in fact the Christ based on that title alone. But then in the NCPs, in the new NCPCOG, right, they refer to him as teacher, but then notice how when they worshipped, they always worshipped to Jesus. I mean, I went to their website and, just read up, the English version of it. And from what I could see, everything, right, was done. They were worshiping Jesus. But meanwhile, here was this man that they were calling teacher, right? So then that's when you come to see that this group is incredibly sophisticated, right? Because now there is the teacher among them, but then he never publicly comes out and says, worship me I am God. That didn't happen. It only happened after he died, right? So then when he died, and then there was that, great split between the two churches, and everything. So then after that, then the NCPCOG kept, believing in Jesus and believing in the teachings of the teacher, right, An Sang Hong. Meanwhile, the WMSCOG, right, then went on to deify him. So then you can really come to understand that, it's layered, it's complex, it's sophisticated, this group, because this man called himself teacher, and judging by that alone, like I've said, believed he was the Christ. So then now, after he's died, so then now there's then this teaching of, no, oops, he was God. And secondly, there's then now this teaching of him as a God. Now try to bear with me. Try to keep up, because I'm gonna try and move as quickly as I can, through the many points, right? But then this is basically the kind of video that it's going to require a lot of thinking, So pause the video, pause the video, and then just think about it, really, about what the New Covenant Pastor for Church of God, says about An Sang Hong, and then that split that happened when the NPCOG and immediately after the split, right, they weren't called the World Vision Society Church of God. They were called Witnesses of An Sang Hong, right, Church of God, right? And then only almost a decade later, they were then called the WMSCOG, right? So yeah, it's going to require you doing a bit of history and about the church itself, really, and just finding out what happened. So anyways, so An Sang Hong never publicly said he was a Christ after his death, right? Only then did the WMSCOG then proclaim him as the Christ. So then now, what about this Mother God teaching, right? Like I said, I'm moving very quickly. I don't want to make it too long. I don't want to go into too much detail, right? Because I have not yet learned the skills. I have not yet learned the skills, to do these video edits properly. But then, if ever I have the time to do that, to learn that skill, then hopefully I can update this at some time. But then, okay, so fine. WMSCOG, what do they believe about Mother God, right? What do they think about it? Because now, here we have this woman who's worshipped, by everybody around her, right? The one thing that you will actually come to realize, if you seriously give it some thought, right? At no point did she ever publicly, as far as we know, right, or as far as the DVDs that we've watched, even when we went to see her, in Korea, at no point, right, did she ever stand there and say openly that worship me, I am God. It didn't happen, right? As far as I can recall, that never happened. So then now, what does that tell you about the sophistication? Because here you have this one woman, there's 12,000 people around her worshiping her as God, but then she herself doesn't say, I am God. See the sophistication there. See the complexity. See the layers, right? In that she herself, the object of worship, right, never publicly says, worship me, I am God. Nevertheless, everybody else around her worships her and, bows to her as God. So then now, why would this be the case, right? Why is it then that she herself wouldn't publicly come out, and say that, I am God, right? So then this would really just boil down into what, once again, if ever you've come across, for example, the people who are higher up in the leadership, like the pastors, they seem to always have this, dare I say, this confidence, right? That I know something that you don't, right? They seem to have this thing of saying, I'm not even going to waste my time with you, because if only you knew what I knew. So then now the question then becomes, what do the people within the inner circle believe about Mother God? Now I know about the previous point, I really haven't gotten into great detail about it, but because like I said, the video would then be too long if I did. So the people within the inner circle, right? And because, like I said, there's layers to these things, People from the outside are told one thing, the members know one thing, and then, the people that are, as you get closer and closer to the core of this group, right, then you come to realize the teachings are incredibly different than to what everybody else is told. So then now, what do the people around Mother God believe? Do the pastors, in fact, believe that there is a Mother God? Well, the answer is no, they don't. It may come as a shocker, but no, the pastors actually don't believe, that there is such a thing as a Mother God, right? Because let me just this is explained actually in another video. God, I forgot, but it was explained. So it is true, yes. The pastors themselves don't believe in a Mother God, but then they go out there to tell everybody else, that there is this thing as a Mother God, because there seems to be this belief that the members won't understand, that they won't understand about this whole Mother God situation, because, like I said, everything that they do, they try to make it seem as though it's Bible-based and it's biblical. For example, like if you go to 1 Corinthians, right? 1 Corinthians 11, right? 1 Corinthians 11. Okay, so let me go from verse 3, right? It says here, now I want you to realize that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. Every man who prays or prophesies with his head covered dishonors his head, and every woman who prays or prophesies with the head uncovered dishonors her head. It is just as though her head was shaved. Verse 6, if a woman does not cover her head, she should have her hair cut off, and if it's a disgraceful thing for a woman to have her hair cut off or shaved, she should cover her head. Verse 7, a man, and this is key here, this is the key verse, verse 7, a man ought not to cover his head, since he is the image and glory of God, but the woman, right? The woman is the glory of man. So then in this verse, right, we can actually see a distinction, right, between the Creator, right, and his creation, right? There seems to be this distinction, sorry, of the two, right? So the Creator and his creation, right? God being the Creator, right, and mankind, basically men and women, being the creation of God, right? So then now, it then further on to then break that down, to say that, no, but actually within this creation, men and women, right, the man represents the image of God, but women represent the image of his creation, right? So the whole concept, right, of a Mother God, right, it doesn't make sense. Because woman, as clearly stated in that verse, represents, right, the image, women represent the image of, in other words, human beings are represented by women. So then to then not say that there is, honestly, they don't believe in the Mother God, they don't believe the people, and by them, I mean the people within the inner circle, right? They don't actually believe in there being a Mother God. They don't believe that Jan Gilja is a Mother God. They don't believe in that whole concept of there being a Mother God even. They don't believe that, right? But then, like I said, they have this tendency to undermine, everybody else outside, like, oh no, they're not going to understand it, and so on and so forth. Only we, within this circle will be able to understand who Mother really is. But no, even though they may push that teaching to the public and to some members within the church, but then within that circle, right, the Korean circle, within that circle, they honestly believe that Mother, or Jan Gilja, they believe her actually to be Ansang Hong. I know it sounds crazy, but yeah, that's really what they believe. They believe her to be Jesus. They believe her, right, to be Jehovah. Yeah, this is really what they believe, I kid you not, right? Because also staying within Corinthians, right? If you go to 1 Corinthians 15, right? I'm going to read from verses 3 to 6, right? It says here, for what I received, I also pass on to you as of first importance, that Christ died for our sins according to the scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day according to the scriptures, verse 5, and that he appeared to Peter, and then to the 12. Verse 6, after that he appeared to more than 500 of the brothers at the same time. Most of whom were still living, those some have fallen asleep. So in this verse, right, it's written that when Christ resurrected, he appeared to 500 people all in the same time. So then now there is this belief that, if Jesus did this thing 2,000 years ago, if he could appear to people at 500 people at the same time, so then there is this belief that actually Mother God, right, Jangilja, is basically unsung home, but almost like he's taking on like a female form, basically, right? So some people might look at this, go, oh, whoa, mind blown, like, oh my God, it makes so much sense, because yes, there's the creator and his creation, and yes, so Mother God is God, Mother God is Jehovah, and so on and so forth. But meanwhile, the only reason why they would then go on to, to pander this lie, because this group, right, does believe that being deceptive or using deception is perfectly acceptable, right? They believe that it's okay to lie and deceive people and not to be completely upfront with them because, they take, like I said, they're narcissists, right? They have this tendency to undermine people and actually not give them the benefit of the doubt that they will actually understand fully what they are saying. And then, like I said, not only are they narcissists in thinking so highly of themselves above everybody else, but because they're so conceited, man. They're so self-righteous and quite arrogant, really. The more you get to know them, the more after, that whole love-bombing phase is now over and you really come to see what these people are really like, behind closed doors, then you come to see, okay, no, they have a tendency to undermine people, they're dismissive, they're arrogant, they're so annoying, and they lack empathy. They genuinely can't really connect with other people. They're just so incredibly superficial based only on what they believe they can derive out of a person. She's getting a bit too long. But anyways, yeah, so like I'm saying, so Jesus did this thing where it appears to 500 people all in the same time, and then now they believe, right, that Mother is basically another shell, as it were, of unsung home. So, like I said, right, in my previous, so then, they don't believe in the whole mother God thing. The pastors don't believe that, right? They don't. They may come to, like I say, they will use deception because you can't really trust people who can use deception because there's no telling really what other things that they may have lied to you. You really can't then tell. But then, yeah, so the pastors don't believe it, but then they'll go out and say, no, look here in the Bible, it says, let us make man in our image. Male and female were created. But then now, when you look at other scriptures, it then goes to testify that no, the whole male and female thing just basically represents, a creator and his creation. It doesn't necessarily mean, that there are two gods. And even when you further read the verses themselves, the verses that Genesis 1:26 and 27, it further goes on to state that, that he created them, So, in fact, let me just go there. Yeah, Genesis 1:26. It doesn't speak about, these gods creating. Verse 1, okay, it says here, verse 27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. It's incredibly singular that he created. So God created man, right, in his own image. It doesn't say the gods did that. And then in the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them, right? So then it's incredibly singular that the one who did the actual creating, the creator, right, is God the Father, right, whom the pastors actually believe to be Jangilja, right? They believe that to be her. That's what they believe, and obviously something that they would never tell other people, because remember, there was another verse even in the Bible when Peter came out and said to Jesus that you are the Christ, Son of the living God, and then Jesus was don't you tell nobody, don't tell other people that you know this. So there seems to be the secrecy of like don't go telling, So there is that sophistication, and they will say things to people that they themselves within the inner circle they get a different teaching. So within the inner circle, they'll get one teaching, and then the outer circle gets something else, and then those within the outside world will also get something else. But then that core group, right, which distinctly remains Korean, honestly doesn't believe that. And then, like I've said, mother will kick the bucket. She's gonna die, right? It will happen. And, like I said, they will then spin that once again, as they seem to be very good with spin. They'll probably show you just one verse, in the Bible and say, oh, but Bible prophecy must be fulfilled 100%. For example, if you read Revelation, they might show you, like, when she dies, chances are, right, they'll show you Revelation 3, verse 12. It says, him who overcomes, I'll make a pillar in the temple of my God. Never again will you leave it. I will write on him the name of my God, in the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem, which is coming down out of heaven from my God. So then they might, do this whole thing of taking things out of context and trying to, justify the rubbish that they would be peddling to you at the time. Sorry. The only corona I know. Yes. So, like I said, for example, in this verse, they will say, I will write on him the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem. So they might twist that scripture and then say, oops, obviously when mother dies, they'll say, nope, but it also says here that the name of the city of my God. So notice how the people around her, right, when they worship mother, right, they don't worship Jangil-ja. They don't say, oh, Jangil-ja, give me your blessing. Oh, Jang-ja, give me your blessing. They don't say that, right? They don't say it. They worship her by her title, right? They call it the New Jerusalem. So chances are when she kicks the bucket, right, they will then go on to say that, no, now, we must change from using the name of An Sang-hong and now use the name of Jangil-ja, which is in all likelihood what they will do. Because remember, like I've said, everything that they do, they try to make it seem biblical, right? But then a part of you might be, like I said, you've silenced the dissonance. You've silenced the critical thinking to say, but no, wait a minute. It's not adding up. So, yeah, like I said, they'll probably use that verse and say, no, worship in the name of Jangil-ja, not in the name of An Sang-hong anymore, when she passes. And they will spin it somehow, like I said, to say that the scriptures has to be fulfilled 600-700 times. There was something wrong with you, the believer, for believing what we told you. Something wrong because the teaching is perfect truths. They will say something along those lines. Something wrong with you, not with our teaching. Right? So once again, all narcissists do this, right? They always pass on the blame, pass on the judgment to the objects, really, to the people that they're close with. So then they will blame you. You will be blamed. Believe this will happen. You will be blamed for having a lack of faith. You will be blamed for mothers dying, because of your sinful nature or whatever that they will make up. You will be blamed. It's your fault if just because mother has died, now you're gonna fall away. Where else can you get the water of life? They will layer you with guilt and with fear, the usual MO that they will do. They've done this, so many times to so many people, where they lay you with tons and tons of guilt for even considering and saying, but what if I'm being hoodwinked? What if I'm being scammed here? Guilt, the fear that will come with that. So yeah, yes. So then, like I said, just looking at these couple of scriptures only, right? In all, like I said, An Sang-hong 100% believed he was a Christ. The people within the inner circle believe that Mother God Jangil-ja is actually another form of An Sang-hong, and when she kicks the bucket, they will then show you some verse to try and justify why that needed to happen, why it's your fault, and why now you must in all likelihood worship in the name of Jangil-ja. As to whether or not maybe if let's say, for example, they'll pull out another biblical character or another deity, I don't know. I can't answer that really. Because, yeah, like for example, they say crap like, they say the general pastor is, the prophetical Joshua, Joshua who was with Moses. They say that, the general pastor is the prophetical Joshua. They say that Jangil-ja is the invisible commander. They're saying all this crap. right? So whatever they do, they try to make it seem as though, something biblical. So chances are they might whip out another biblical character, and they might say, who knows, there's a prophetical Gideon or prophetical Elisha. Who knows what else they might make up, when that change, let's say maybe 20 years or 30 years down the line eventually happens. So yeah, I just wanted to answer that because I kind of feel like not to see the fact that but this person believed he was God, it kind of it leaves these people in a false sense of confidence, thinking that, oh well, we know some that they don't, they might scoff at you, they might look at you like, you don't know what we know, type of look. But no, but this is really the truth, this is really what they believe, that the teacher Ansang Hong was God. They believe that. They believe that Mother God, right, once again, is Ansang Hong, is Jesus, is Jehovah, who led the Israelites out of Egypt, and so on and so forth. And like I'm saying, sometime later on in the future, when she eventually kicks the bucket, when she's gone, they'll blame you for it, and then probably bring out another character, because Bible prophecy must be fulfilled 100% to, or something along those lines, or something must be fulfilled 600-700 times, or whatever rubbish or nonsense that they will then pander onto you to try and convince you that, they've got the absolute truth. But the reality is you've been hoodwinked, you've wasted all your money, you've wasted, oh my goodness, if I was to talk about, the amounts of money that people have wasted in this church, selling their houses, and oh God, there's another story altogether. But yeah, so by the time that it eventually hits you that, oh my goodness, I've been hoodwinked, I've been scammed, by that point, it's incredibly too late. Because at the time, the teaching, the delusion was so powerful that, you didn't want to lose your reward of heaven. You didn't want to lose your reward of certainty of having the truth, So yeah, I just wanted to, once again, just emphasize on that, just speak about that. And, when the time allows, and when I feel the need to, I should then be able to maybe post another video about, some other topic, right? Cheers.